The divorce notification landed in my inbox at 3:17 Zulu time. Dust coated my laptop screen in the cramped cop combat outpost near Kandahar. My name is Marcus Rivera, 38, Staff Sergeant with the 10th Mountain Division. I'd spent 13 years building a life with Elena high school sweethearts, married before my first deployment. But this email? 3 sentences. I've filed. Joint accounts drained. Jeremy moved in. Let's be adults. Attached. A PDF divorce petition. Our $87,000 savings? Gone. That's when I knew. Adults don't do this. Soldiers do. And I'd finish this war before fighting hers. I stared at the screen as mortar fire exploded in the distance. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was safer in this combat zone than in my own marriage. Around me, soldiers slept in their bunks, dreaming of homecomings, of families waiting faithfully. My faithful wife was currently moving her personal trainer into our house, the house I bought with my VA loan. The house where my Purple Heart and my father's Bronze Star were displayed in a shadow box she'd insisted on hanging. "Rivera, you all right?" Sergeant Miller whispered, noticing I hadn't moved for 10 minutes. "Yeah," I lied, closing my laptop. "Just some stuff back home." He nodded. Military guys understand when not to push. But as I lay on my bunk that night, staring at the canvas ceiling, I wasn't thinking about the Taliban or IEDs or tomorrow's patrol. I was thinking about the legal system, about VA loans, about digital forensics, and about how a soldier fights a war on 2 fronts when the enemy wears a wedding ring. Alina and I met in Fayetteville, North Carolina, just outside Fort Bragg. I was 19, she was 18, working at the coffee shop where every soldier from Bragg eventually ended up. She had this way of remembering orders: extra shot for the Rangers, no foam for the Green Berets. I was just a private then, but she treated me like I already had stars on my shoulders. We married before my first deployment to Iraq. She waited, sending care packages with handwritten letters sprayed with her perfume. When I returned with a Purple Heart and nightmares, she was there. When I re-enlisted, she cried but understood. "It's who you are," she'd say, kissing my forehead. We bought our house in 2015 using my VA loan, a 3-bedroom colonial in a quiet neighborhood. The mortgage was in my name only, a requirement of the VA program, but I added her to the deed. "Marriage is partnership," she'd said, signing the papers with a flourish. Her father had lost everything in a bankruptcy when Alina was young, leaving her with deep anxiety about financial security. I got it. That's why I made sure she had access. To all accounts, why I showed her every investment, why I never questioned when she wanted to save just a little more. Before starting a family, the red flag started 6 months before my current deployment. Alina stopped asking about my day. She started working late at the dental office where she managed appointments. She got a gym membership but never seemed to lose weight or smell like she'd actually worked out. New clothes started appearing. Expensive ones she couldn't afford on her salary. "Your friend Melissa seems really happy since her divorce," she said one night, folding laundry with military precision. "She's traveling, bought a condo, ... Melissa's ex was cheating on her," I pointed out. Alina shrugged. "Still she seems ... free." When I mentioned possibly extending my enlistment, her reaction was stronger than usual. "When are you going to get a real job, Marcus?" she snapped, then quickly softened. "I just mean, don't you want more stability? For us? For the family? We'll have someday?" I should have known then. But soldiers are trained to see threats from the front, not from home. I deployed 3 weeks later, leaving Alina with a kiss and a promise to call every Sunday, which was dried at the airport, which I found strange but attributed to her being strong for me. Now, lying in this cop in Kandahar, I realized the truth. Alina hadn't been strong for me. She'd been strong for herself, planning her exit strategy while I planned patrol routes. The next morning, I requested secure communications with JAG. Captain Reynolds, a lawyer with the 10th Mountain, met me in the makeshift office. "Rivera, what's this about?" he asked, closing the door. I showed him the email. He whistled. "That's cold. What do you need?" "Everything you can tell me about VA loans, divorce law, and how to prove financial misconduct while I'm stuck in Afghanistan." For the next 2 hours, Reynolds educated me. The key points: VA loans have specific protections for service members, especially during deployment. The Service Member Civil Relief Act (SCRA) allows courts to postpone legal proceedings if military duties prevent proper representation. Most importantly, forging signatures on financial documents is a felony. But how do I prove she forged my signature from here? I asked. Digital forensics, Reynolds said. Bank records, IP addresses, timestamps, and if she's using your money, she'll leave a trail. That night, I accessed our home security system. Alina had forgotten I could view the cameras remotely. There was a strange man in my driveway, walking my dog, wearing my Ranger's hoodie. He used my coffee mug, the one Alina had given me for our 10th anniversary. I took screenshots. Then I opened a new browser tab and logged into our bank accounts. Empty. All of them. But the transaction history showed where the money went. $14,600 transferred to an account under Daniel Spencer. A quick search revealed Spencer was a real estate agent specializing in quick cash sales. Interesting. Very interesting. I needed an ally back home, someone I could trust implicitly. That someone was Sergeant First Class Michael Jennings, now a civilian lawyer in Fayetteville. We'd served together in Iraq, where he'd carried me 3 miles to a medevac after an IED blew up our Humvee. If anyone had my back, it was Jennings. I sent him an encrypted email. Need eyes on VA fraud? Quietly. Wife emptied accounts during deployment. Possible real estate scheme. Will explain when I can. His reply came within hours on it. Secure. Line only. Stay safe, brother. Over the next week, Jennings worked his magic. He discovered that Jeremy Elena's personal trainer was actually Jeremy Ryan. With 2 DUIs and a 2019 fraud conviction, Spencer had closed 3 similar military divorce sales in the past 18 months, all involving deployed service members whose wives had suddenly filed for divorce. The pattern was clear. Jeremy targeted military wives, convinced them their husbands were hiding money or planning to leave them, then used their fear to facilitate fraud. Spencer would handle the real estate side, undervaluing properties and selling them to cash buyers at a fraction of their worth. I needed proof. I needed to get home without Alina knowing I was coming. The solution came in the form of a deployment extension letter I forged and sent to Alina. Panicked. She would accelerate her plans to sell the house, the final piece of the trap. Jennings contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, which had already been investigating Spencer and Jeremy for similar schemes. They agreed to have an agent pose as a cash buyer interested in our house. If you're enjoying this calculated takedown, smash that subscribe button for more stories where justice catches up to those who think they're above consequences. Now, watch the trap spring. 2 weeks later, I was on a military transport headed stateside. I hadn't told Alina I was coming home. No call. No texts, just a surprise arrival that would catch her completely off guard. I checked into a motel in Fayetteville under a fake name and met Jennings at a diner 10 miles from my house. You look like hell, he said, sliding into the booth. Feel like it too, I replied, pushing a folder across the table. What did you find? Jennings opened the folder. Everything we discussed, plus this. He pulled out a separate document. Found something interesting when I was digging into your finances. It was a refinance application with my signature on it. Except it wasn't my signature. Not quite. Right. Middle initial was wrong, and the stroke pattern was all wrong. Lena did this, I said, though I already knew the answer. Jennings nodded. 3 months ago. She used the equity to pull out $330,000. Your signature is required for that since the VA loan is in your name only. Let me guess, forge my signature, take out a loan against our house, clear out our accounts, and divorce me while I'm overseas, I said bitterly. Busy woman, Jennings agreed. But it gets better. She listed Jeremy as a copplicant. Of course. She did, and Jeremy's got a record. 2 DIs and a fraud charge from 2019. I took a deep breath. What are my options? Several, Jennings said. But first you need to decide what you want. I thought about it. I want what's legally mine, and I want her to understand consequences. Jennings smiled. Then here's what we do. The next day, I drove past our house. Jeremy's truck was gone, but Elena's car was in the driveway. I parked down the street and watched for a while, thinking about knocking on the door, confronting her. But that wasn't the plan. Instead, I drove to the bank and met with the loan officer who had processed the refinance. I showed him my military ID, my driver's license with the real signature, and the forged documents. His face went pale. "I'll need to report this immediately." "I understand," I said. "I've already filed a police report." That night I got a text from Elena. "Who have you been talking to at the bank?" Jeremy said someone was asking questions. I didn't respond. The next day, I went to the county clerk's office and filed paperwork contesting the refinance due to fraud. I also registered formal notice that no changes to the property could be made without my presence. 2 days later, Elena called. "Let it go to voicemail. Nathan, we need to talk." "The bank called about the house." "What are you doing? If this is about the divorce, we can discuss it like adults." Like adults. The same words from her email. I still didn't respond. Jennings called that afternoon. "They've frozen the refinance money, and there's more. Your wife's boyfriend has been driving your truck, right? The one in your name?" "Yeah." "Hey. Got pulled over this morning driving on a suspended license from those DUIs. They impounded the vehicle." "Good," I said. "He also had some interesting things in the truck," Jennings added. "Prescription pads from the dental office where Elena works, and they weren't blank." I closed my eyes. "She's been stealing prescription pads." "Looks that way," Jennings said. "Police are investigating." I hung up and sat on the edge of the motel bed. This was getting bigger than I'd expected. Part of me wanted to call Elena, warn her. Old habits. But then I remembered the security. Camera footage, my house, my dog, my life, given away like it meant nothing. This was the path now. I couldn't turn back. And honestly, I didn't want to. The next morning, I met with the bank fraud investigator, a short guy with tired eyes and a coffee stain on his tie. "This happens more often than you'd think," he said, spreading documents across his desk. "Spouse. Deploys, other spouse sees an opportunity." "What happens now?" I asked. "We've frozen the funds from the fraudulent refinance, but there's a problem. Some of the money's already gone." "How much?" "About half. $146,000. I leaned forward. "Where did it go?" The investigator hesitated. "I'm not supposed to share that information. It's my house, my name forged, my money stolen." He nodded slowly, then turned his computer screen toward me. "These are the transfers out of the refinance account." I scanned the list. It's multiple transfers to someone named Daniel Spencer, Jeremy, and someone else I'd never heard of. "Who's Daniel Spencer?" I asked. The investigator shrugged. "Not my department, but you should ask your lawyer to subpoena these records." I called Jennings as soon as I left the bank. "Daniel Spencer," he repeated. "Let me run a check." An hour later, he called back. "Got it. Daniel Spencer is a real estate agent, specializes in quick sales, cash deals." "She was planning to sell our house," I said, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. "Looks that way," Jennings agreed. The deposits were probably earnest money to get him moving on a listing. But here's where it gets interesting. Spencer has done business with Jeremy Ryan before. Jeremy Ryan? Is that my wife's boyfriend? Yes. They've closed 3 deals together in the past 2 years. I sat down on a park bench, trying to process this. So this wasn't just Elena leaving me for some guy. This was a planned operation. "Maybe," Jennings said carefully. I did some digging into Jeremy Ryan. He has a pattern. Gets involved with women going through divorce or with deployed spouses. 3 cases I found so far. Each time the woman's home gets sold well below market value to one of Spencer's clients. Ryan gets a cut, then he moves on. And Elena. Did she know about this? Hard to say, Jennings admitted. Maybe she's a victim too. Or maybe she's in on it. I rubbed my face. This wasn't just about Elena betraying me anymore. This was something bigger, something calculated. And other military families had been victims. "What do we do?" I asked. "I've already contacted the FBI's Financial Crime Division," Jennings said. "This crosses state lines, involves military personnel and VA loans. They're interested. That night, I sat in my motel room with a beer, thinking about everything. Wondering if Alina had been playing me our entire marriage, or if she'd gotten swept up in Jeremy's scheme. Wondering if it even mattered. My phone buzzed Alina again. "Nathan, please call me. The bank is saying something about fraud, and Jeremy got arrested for driving your truck. I don't understand what's happening." I stared at the message for a long time, then typed, "Who is Daniel Spencer?" 3 dots appeared as she started typing, then stopped. Started again. Stopped. Finally, "I don't know what you're talking about. $146,000, I wrote. Multiple transfers. House listing. No response for 10 minutes. Then, "It's not what you think." Why? Turned off my phone and went to bed. The next morning, Jennings called. "FBI wants to meet." They've been investigating Ryan and Spencer for months. You're not the first, but you might be the case that breaks it open. For the first time since getting that divorce email, I felt something close to satisfaction. It's not because my marriage was over, because the truth was finally coming out. I met with the FBI agents at their field office in Fayetteville. Agent Patel and Agent Donovan recorded my statement, took copies of all the documents Jennings and I had gathered. "Your case helps establish a pattern," Agent Patel explained. "Shows intent, organization, makes it a conspiracy rather than isolated incidents." "What about Alina?" I asked. "My wife, ex-wife." The agents exchanged looks. "We're still determining her level of involvement," Donovan said carefully. "Did she ever mention financial difficulties? Pressure to sell the house?" I thought back. She kept saying we were house poor, that we should downsize. I didn't see the need. Our mortgage payments were manageable on my salary. Patel made a note. "When did that start?" "About 6 months ago. Around the time she must have met Jeremy and the refinance." Donovan asked. "Never discussed it with me." "She forged my signature while I was deployed." They asked more questions. Took more notes. When we finished, Patel handed me her card. "We'll be in touch. In the meantime, don't confront your wife or Ryan. We need to build this case carefully." I nodded. Understood. That evening, I drove to our neighborhood again, parked down the street from our house. Jeremy's truck was back. Must have gotten it out of impound. Elena's car was gone. My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. "We need to talk in person. Meet me at Riverfront Park tomorrow?" I showed the text to Jennings over breakfast the next day. "Don't go," he advised. "Nothing good can come from talking to her right now." "I won't," I said. "But I want to know what she's doing today while she thinks I'm meeting her." We drove to our house at 9:30 a.m., parked across the street at 9:45. Alina came out, got in her car, and drove away, heading toward Riverfront Park. "Now what?" Jennings asked. "Now we wait," I said. 20 minutes later, a car pulled up, real estate agent logo on the door. Daniel Spencer. Jeremy came out to greet him. He talked in the driveway, then went inside. "Should we follow them?" Jennings asked. I shook my head. "No need." I pulled out my phone. I installed security cameras last year. Interior and exterior. They upload to cloud storage. Jennings smiled. "You didn't mention that before." "Never came up," I said, opening the security app. I angled the screen so Jennings could see. Spencer and Jeremy were in our living room. Spencer was taking photos. Jeremy was pointing out features of the house. I turned up the volume. "Should list by the end of the week," Spencer was saying. "I've got a buyer interested already. Cash offer as usual." "How much?" Jeremy asked. $420. "We list at $470. They offer $420. Everybody's happy." "What about the husband?" Jeremy asked. "Alina says he's causing trouble." Spencer waved dismissively. "Military guys are all the same. They make noise, but they've got deployments, responsibilities. They'll take a settlement to make it go away." I turned to Jennings. "You getting this?" Was already recording the feed on his phone. Every word. I forwarded the security feed access to Agent Patel with a short message. "Happening now." 30 minutes later, our house was surrounded by FBI vehicles. I watched from down the street. As agents led Spencer and Jeremy out in handcuffs, my phone rang. It was Agent Patel. "Got them on tape discussing the fraud scheme," she said. plus conspiracy, wire fraud, and attempting to sell property under false pretenses. We're going to need a formal statement from you. Of course, I said. And Mr. Briggs, your wife just arrived at the scene? She's distressed. I looked down the street. Alina was standing on our lawn, hands over her mouth, watching as FBI agents carried boxes of documents from our house. What happens to her? I asked. Depends, Patel said, on what she knew and on what you want. I watched Alina for a long moment. 13 years of marriage. Good years at the beginning, before whatever this had become. I just want what's right, I said finally. The federal case moved quickly. Jeremy and Spencer both took plea deals, implicating each other and several other conspirators in what turned out to be a 3-state operation targeting military families. Alina maintained she knew nothing about the larger scheme. Said Jeremy had convinced her I was hiding money, planning to leave her with nothing. Said the refinance was his idea, she'd just gone along with it. Maybe that was true, maybe it wasn't. Either way, she agreed to a settlement. Full restitution of the stolen funds, forfeiture of any claim to the house or my military pension, and a signed confession about the forgery. In exchange, I didn't press charges. The divorce was finalized 6 months after that email from Kandahar. No fault, clean break, all things considered. On the day the last paperwork was signed, I got a call from Agent Patel. Jeremy Ryan was sentenced. Today, 8 years for fraud, conspiracy, and identity theft. Spencer got 12. Thought you'd want to know. Thank you, I said. There's something else, she added. We found evidence they've done this to 11 other military families. Your case helped us build the pattern. Those families might get their money back because of you. After we hung up, I sat on the porch of my rental apartment, watching the sunset, thinking about those other families. Other men who deployed, thinking their homes and marriages were safe, only to come back to emptiness. I hadn't planned on being the one to bring down Jeremy and Spencer's operation. I just wanted what was mine. But sometimes things work out in ways you don't expect. Thanks for joining me on this journey from betrayal to justice. If you believe in karma delivered through strategy, visit my channel for more stories where the underdog fights back. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps expose more wrongdoers. Till next time, remember, trust your gut. Finish the fight and never let them win. I'm Kevin, and this is Revenge Diaries.